Police the first 3 years. When they saw that, they thought, well, that's not our own property.
Call this work session in order, Monday, February 3rd. Work session, indication given by Mr. Bailey, pledge of allegiance given by Mr. Ashman.
Let us pray. Father God, thank you for today, Lord. Thank you for the many blessings you give us. Lord, we just ask you to look over all the citizens that were affected by the fire, Lord. We just ask you to your hand and touch on all the firemen and police that were affected also by that. Lord, we just ask for wisdom tonight as we go through this meeting. Just guide us through it. Lord, we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, I had 4 items on the agenda. Number 5 will be unwaste, Mr. Brandon Williams. Number 6 will be CDG, Mr. Steve Thomas. 7 will be the solid waste billing software. 8 will be KPS invoice for the Heritage Center. First item on the agenda tonight is a report on the U.S. report, Judge Eustace.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thought it might be appropriate just to give you all an update and a report since my first boss, the beginning of the new year. Second, we did add a position a few months back, and I wanted to mostly give you an update on that and how that's working out, because that's a position we had not had before. Referred to it as the adjudicated case manager. I think Ms. Starr actually circulated a document to y'all. I don't know how that outlines some of the changes and some of the things where we see that the adjudicated case manager plus some other changes have improved. So if you look at April 1 through January 31, and the reason she picked April 1 is this was when we started the new process. April 1 is when y'all brought me back as the presiding judge. So from April 1, 2018 through January 31, 2019, it shows a dollar figure, and then it does the same thing for 19 and 20. So you're basically looking at the highest, almost trailing 12 months and comparing it year to year. One of the reasons that we track the money on this is not just about the money, it's not just about the revenue stream, but if a probationer is in compliance, most likely if they're paying their money and they're in compliance on the payment of their money, they're also in compliance in every other thing that they're doing. Because about the last thing they're going to do is pay their money and then compliance some other method. So frankly, this is just one of the easiest ways for that adjudicated case manager to track the compliance and tell whether or not she's able to increase or not the compliance. Now, she only started, as it states down below, in September, but those numbers reflect from when I took over in April 1. So you'll see from April 1 to January 31 last year and this year comparison, there's a $248,629 increase in the monies that we've collected in that. So basically $250,000 there in less than a year. Now what that reflects to me though is if you look, you've got you're starting out at about 400,000 and you're ending up at about 650. So you're probably, I haven't done the math on that, that's roughly a 70% or so, 75% or so increase in compliance. So what we're getting at there is we're enforcing the probationary terms that people are on. In the past, the city had kind of turned into a interest-free bank. And when people were ordered to do certain things under certain plea agreements, they need to do those things. And we're enforcing those, and you can see by increasing 70% or so of the compliance there that we're enforcing that. So I think that's a good thing. The municipal court also entered an additional in that 1920 period. Everything from that, where it says municipal court entered 341 more cases, everything above that is actually only from April 1 to the end of January, so it's not a full year. But in that period of time, there's 341 more cases been entered than the previous year. Some of that, I think, is the officers. We got some new officers. There's a lot more people out there working, I think, on their side. So there's more people being picked up. We also have more cases, though, because we are enforcing the old agreements where people were non-compliant, and the case is just kind of sitting there in a black hole. Those cases are being brought back to trial. If someone made an agreement that their case was going to be dismissed, but they did not maintain their terms of that agreement, then the case is being brought back to trial. And sometimes it ends up generating some new cases as well. Lynn Roberts was hired as the adjudicated case manager. You can see there at the bottom, she started on September 1, 2019. If you look at September 1 to January 31, the previous year, $183,000 was collected. Since she's been there, we've collected $333,000, now almost $334,000. So you got over $150,000 increase from September 1 to January 1. So that position, I told you I felt like basically it pay its own way, and it has. Obviously, I look at that. I saw the other day where I think Chief asked for an amendment in the jail budget. I think that was approved. I appreciate that as well, because sometimes the jail reaches a point where, with the staff being low, we have to consider, do we send another person to jail or not? And we reach a point where if we send another one to jail, we might have to let one go. So you got to determine what is the best for the community when you have to do that. So I'm glad to see that is the case. When you first hired me back in April, I think the census of the jail was running around 3. Now I think it's around 23.
Yes.
So a lot of those are short stays, but frankly, we've reached a point now where we've kind of rotated through a lot of short stays. People are becoming more compliant, as you can see, and they're having to come in less. And a lot of the people that we've gotten in there now, they're there for an extended time. So not a whole lot of adjustment that we can make to that jail staff. So I appreciate you granting that budget increase, because that also helps me as well. We tried to streamline things a little bit on times. I'll give you an example. We had a crime occurred in town. Police officers got a call right quick. They had to chase the subjects, but they apprehended them pretty quick. That happened on, I think it was a Thursday, Friday, and on Monday they were in court and they pled guilty. They were sentenced, and they're still in jail at this moment. So I know in the future you're going to be hearing a lot about the bond scenarios, because this is the thing that's kind of coming down the pipe. You see it on TV somehow, the bond reform, the bail reform, and changes like that. We're trying to do away with as much bond time as possible. When you have bond time, I mean somebody's been charged and they come into court and they placed on bond, placed out on bail, they go back out into the public, unless there's a reason to deny their bond. Sometimes you get caught up in that gray area. They hadn't been found guilty yet. They may not be guilty. If they're not guilty, they certainly don't need to be in jail. So they're out on bond, and things sometimes happen. To me, bond needs to be minimal. Time period needs to be minimal. So I'm down there twice a week, and we try to keep the dockets moving. We try to get the people who've been arrested before the judge, before the court, as quickly as possible, so that we don't have to use a lot of that bond and bail time. And I think that's also creating a more efficient and faster flowing system. And that's also another reason that these numbers are increased. Now, if y'all have questions about any of this, I'll be glad to answer them. But in a nutshell, it's a quick report. That's kind of where we are today. I mostly wanted you to realize that the implementation of this adjudicated case manager has been a good thing. And I appreciate you also helping out with the jail, although that I have nothing to do with the jail itself. I do have to keep into consideration when they're telling me, they can't hold another one. When you put one in, you just got to let one go. So you got to figure out what's going to do with that. Do you have any questions?
Are you staffed properly now? Or staffed properly as far as people you need? Because I know you added that one position. It sounds like you're serving a purpose without a doubt.
we're at a point where, could we use another person? We probably could, but I'm not sure that it would be fully utilized at this point. And I think when I first, came back in April, I really didn't think we needed another one at that time, and changed my mind. We needed one, we just didn't need another one doing exactly the same thing as everybody else is doing. We needed a new position, we didn't need another the same. If we created another position now to try to help out, I really don't think we get 100% out of it. So right now, I say no. I might change my mind in a month or 2 months or something. I might come up with another idea. But right now, I think we're probably where we need to be. Sometimes you add more people, you don't necessarily get the efficiency out of it. There's more people to manage. So adding more people is not always the right answer. I think we're trying to be more efficient is probably the better help that we have right now as opposed to adding more people. And realize that this new person's only been there since September. She's still taking summer training. She took summer tests this past week. So I'm expecting the efficiency to continue to improve, which I think would cut down on the need for another person at this point.
I want to commend you on you and your staff. That's good numbers to see, which is really, I guess, bad because you got people in jail, but still,
Well, no one's in jail that doesn't need to be there. So the problem is that they're not in there, then they're out on the street.
That's right.
I realize that, this is a city court, municipal court, and a lot of people think all you do is traffic tickets. The people that are in jail are there for assaults, fleeing to elude, resisting arrest, theft. Basically, some reason, same thing as robberies, that didn't have a weapon with them. But, we're down to the point that the people that are in there need to be there. They're there for a reason. They're not just there because of, some technicality, or they missed a court date, or they owed some money, or something like that. Those are, don't go to jail, or if they do, they go for very short terms. People that are serving now are serving lengthy terms.
thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you.
Anybody got any more questions?
Appreciate what you do.
All right, thank you.
Next on the agenda is number 2, discuss the procurement policies and procedures. Mr. Weber.
At the last work session, I had given you the policy that Ms. Phillips and I come up with as far as purchasing procurement, and suggested that you to look at these this policy, and I'll answer any questions that you have.
We discussed this briefly, and I forgot what your answer was. Was there ever decided if there was a disciplinary if somebody didn't follow these procedures in this?
I think Mr. Kimmer answered and said that there was something in the policies and procedure manual for the employees. There's not anything specific that says if you don't follow this policy, if say a requisition was not obtained, there's not anything, I don't think, that is specifically to if you forget to do it 4, 5, or 6, or 10 times, that this is what your
Good
penalty is going to be.
Right.
Mr. Kim did not help me out on that one.
It would be my view that a procedure, which is what we're dealing with here, is not the place for discipline. Discipline is an employee member. And if an employee is violating a policy and procedure of the city of Scottsboro, they're subject to discipline up to and including dismissal. Simple as that. If they did it 5 times, and their supervisor didn't recommend discipline, then that supervisor should be up for discipline.
Any more questions, concerns?
I'd like to see us discuss it, maybe a couple of council members and Rick and Whitney, Mr. Kimmer, maybe next week at about 5 o'clock, some prior to the meeting. Because I know there's been a few questions here and there, and I really hadn't had an opportunity for us to sit down and hash out a few of the points.
I'm gonna go ahead and create an advisory committee, and that will consist of Mr. Bailey, myself, and the mayor, Whitney, and Mr. Whitaker. Mr. Kemmer. He's the most important one.
Looks like
Nothing else. Thank you.
I don't think this is something that you really need to just jump into. I think you need to try to look at it and make sure that it's what you want to do.
But it's something we do need to do because our auditors highly recommend it too.
I wasn't
I know
talking
what
long
you
term,
mean.
but I was maybe
I just
talking
want to clarify it.
within the next month anyway.
Thank you. Number 3 is discuss equipment option. This is you want.
I'm going to punt to Mr. Level.
Okay.
He and Wayne have been looking at equipment, discussing wants and needs, so I'll let him address that.
Thank you. Last week we had discussed a loader for the landfill, which is still a need, but Wayne had talked with me about sharing a piece of equipment, which is a wheeled excavator that can be moved rather easily down city streets. It can be moved at the landfill. The borrow pit is such a long way away. We're using track hose now, but those track hoses are beginning to get some wear because of the long movement going from cell to the borrow pit. And we have decided that upon y'all's approval of this, the wheeled excavator could be a shared piece of equipment. It's something we should look at this next auction coming up. And I feel like that's I hate Wayne's not here, he's sick, but on behalf of him also, I think that's going to be the best use of the city funds at this time, to look at that. Now, as far as the cost of those things, I cannot tell you what the auction's going to bring. It could be low, could be higher. There's 2 of them that the mayor and I looked at that's on the yard now. I thought about even going down maybe prior to it and seeing if it could even be bought before the auction. Sometimes you can save a few dollars by doing that. So it's just whatever y'all so choose, but the wheeled excavator at this time would probably be the best use of city funds because we can share it. We had talked last week with Patrick, we're looking $30,000 to $50,000 each. So wherever y'all set the fund amount for that piece of equipment, it's going to take the bulk of that, between the 30 to 50 each. So 60 to 100 grand is what it's going to cost, more than likely at the auction for the wheeled excavator.
That auction that he's referring to that's already got some listed is March 17th. It's a 4-day auction, but March 17th through March 21. We just want to be proactive far in advance.
Any more questions? Next item is discuss the budget amendments for repairs at the airport. You want to punt that one, or is that going?
Ty, you can handle this, can't you? Or rudder? No, not rudder, Ty.
Yeah, we have a couple of items that we need to talk about as far as budget amendments. We had that Martin Aviation hangar that released in March, and we didn't used to have a lot of leaks, but it is leaking, bad right now. I mean, water just, pours in different places, and they've got all these aircrafts out there they're working on, they can't get water in the engine cowling and things like that. So we got a quote to do the repairs on the $1,550, and that's going to be a mini trailer. And I've got a $2,500 budget, and this screwy over the budget, so, this is gonna be, and also there's some, heater that we got for them, and, Billy Womack did the electrical wiring, and it's $650. So $650 plus $1,550 for that. And then the other item is that automated weather observation system. It tells pilots what the ceilings are, you know, the clouds, so that they know if they can get in or not. And we had to send that off for repair because we had no sky conditions. So pilots that would do their planning wouldn't know what the ceilings were, if they could get in or not. So that is repaired now, and that is right under $2,000, $1,903.78. That goes to equipment maintenance.
So what we're asking is $4,104 total for these repairs.
How much that cost to go over budget?
Equipment maintenance, we're not quite over, but this is about 60% of our total equipment maintenance. And building maintenance, this does throw us over by about $100 already. And this is only February, so.
I'm sorry, that come out of excess sales tax.
That's what we're proposing.
We'll put that on our agenda for next week.
Tom, while you're still here, what about the future members?
Well, we got the grant from the state. Brother, you have anything you want to add on the future hangar?
We got the grant for the new hangars, and it's in April, I think, isn't it, Mayor, that they're going to start?
We we had to resurvey the boundaries. There was some concern about a future second hangar, about enough property. We've identified property lines. Josh gave me that. Got the survey report back today. We've got to get that to Barge and let them look about the second hangar, but we've already met on site with street department and landfill, because we're going to do the site prep and we use the excess dirt at the landfill for cover. And so we've already discussed the plan for doing the site prep, which will lower our cost of the whole project.
Any more questions? Thank you, Tom. Number 5, Mr. Williams.
Good evening. Brandon Weems with Amwaste. This is John Owens, one of our operations managers. Our owner, Mr. Russell, wanted to be here this evening, but due to some issues that came up, I'm here instead. Our company has been and is continuing to grow, and we have some opportunity to grow toward this direction to Marshall County. There's a contract to pick up residential waste in Marshall County. We submitted a bid last week. I believe it is out, or they vote on it the 12th. And so if we get this contract, we'd like to bring the waste in that residential contract to your landfill. The start date for that would be May the 1st. That contract, it'd approximately be 950 tons a month into the landfill. So somewhere around 218, 19 tons a week. With the trucks that we're proposing to do this, we would see somewhere probably around 5 to 6 loads a day. So it'd be a couple trucks who would make 2 trips. If Marshall County agrees, we're looking at doing this with single axle ASLs, so smaller trucks, less wear and tear on your roads. Not the large dual axle 25-yard trucks running through here. Any questions y'all have, we're happy to answer.
So this would be county waste?
Yes, sir.
It'd be, this wouldn't be any C and D, correct?
No, sir. Just municipal residential pickup.
Gotcha.
How long this, I'm sorry, how long this contract be for, how many years?
3 years.
And what was your proposed start date to accept it?
May 1st.
Is there any leeway in that?
I mean, absolutely, we have other options that we could pursue if there was a time period where we needed to do our
But
contract.
that's your preference, is
Yeah.
May 1?
Our starts will be May 1.
Yes, okay. Anybody else got any questions?
Mr. President, did you get a chance to get that from Stacy?
I've got it, and I'm gonna announce it, the solid waste disposal before the meeting for us to address all that. Do I have anything?
My question would be for y'all, I guess my question would be for Stacy, maybe Steve, you know, is our landfill able to hold it right now? You know, we're in the middle of this sale, and when is it gonna be ready?
Or next on the agenda?
We're in the middle of, we did a flight today, re-looking at some of the existing cell that's done. I told Mr. Mashman that we're gonna look at it and evaluate the area that has been closed to go back to, because we have noticed some spots that we very well may can put some garbage in, but it's just gonna have to be looked at, evaluated, and see how much time we've got before this new cell's done.
Any more questions? But I think it's a very viable option we've got to explore.
We'd love to be here. You know, anything we can do as a company to help.
Where are you based out of?
We just moved our corporate office to West Point, Georgia.
Okay.
Previously, it's based out of Birmingham. We've got operations from Hammond, Louisiana, up the 65 corridor, Mobile, Montgomery, Birmingham,
What did you say the name of the company was?
Amways.
I thought it was Amway, and I thought, they're trying to get us a
No pyramid scheme on this, I promise.
I misunderstood you. Okay.
As I remember, with the city's permit, there is no problem from a legal standpoint with accepting waste from Washington.
Correct.
That's great. We looked at that.
And we appreciate the opportunity to have a partnership, but we gotta make sure the numbers got like that are okay.
We understand that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, CDG, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I assume this is a very timely point for me to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to wanted to give you all an update on where you are. Currently, with the permit modification and where it's going, we have got everything back from the draft permit on the 29th of January, so we have it back. So next, we will take that permit, we will review it. We'll get together with Stacy, and we'll make any comments we feel necessary to that permit before it goes back. When it gets back to ADM, then they go through the process of notifying all the adjacent property owners. Okay, and that's a critical part of this, is the proper notification before they proceed forward. They'll do that for a while. So they'll have it back, and they'll begin the process of approving the permit modification. What we're doing right now is we're continuing with plans and specifications for the sale. We're expecting there not to be any trouble getting the permit modification, but we're going ahead with plans and specifications for the bidding process. Now, in the meantime, the deadline expired for the contractors to submit their qualifications. They expired on January 31st. Whitney will attest she's got several contractors with packages that are qualified to build landfill cells. Now, what we'll do next is we'll take those contractors' qualifications and we'll go through them, and then we'll give you a list, the Solid Waste Authority, a list of contractors we feel approved to build this, to build your cell. And that is for your protection along, because not every contractor can build a landfill cell. I don't care if they can build roads, that don't mean they can build landfill cells. So we've been through that before. So once we get the contractor package approved, we'll give you a list of recommendations. Based upon the data that what we've heard now, I think that Monday we'll have some data for us to all talk about at the Solid Waste Authority meeting before the council meeting. And I think that would be, all of this would coincide understand that from now to the time you get to the point you might have a permit, this time period may be 6 to 8 months before we can actually put garbage into a sale. So let's be mindful of that. So what we're calculating right now is what's left of a sale versus bringing more in starting May 1st, and how that coincides with when we're going to have a permit to put garbage in the sale and a new one. So we want to make sure Mr. Kimber would attest to this, that they're going to write a contract that says, you're going to take our garbage, we got a contract, you want to, if you have to pay it somewhere else. And it's our job to help protect you from having to pay for it to go somewhere else. So that's what you're looking at us to provide you with, and that's what we want to do. So that's kind of where we are right now. Questions, comments?
So that was my main thing, I want to make sure, our garbage is going in.
Yeah, there's already been a lot of discussion, I guess, Stacy and I, we got to get what little bit of hair we got left and have another conversation and things like that about it. So, anything else? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Number 7, solid waste billing software.
Stacy,
I think you have it in your package. This started back a few months ago. Rick and I had discussed some issues with some of the solid waste billing. When we started looking into the billing part of solid waste, we found that it was a very cumbersome process. A lot of just doing redundant things to get a bill out for solid waste. I asked Clint to come in and kind of look at it. It's called WasteWorks, is what we use. Clint came in and evaluated what we're doing. It has been 27 years since this software has been updated. And since that time, you're doing 30 times the amount of billing that you did then. That's why we're having to do so many steps, and I'm afraid we're missing some things here and there, not by no fault of any individual, other than the steps are so hard to take. What time I have spent on the billing side of it, I can see where you can make some mistakes, and you can make them rather easily. This software here that Clint has provided for each of you will update all of WasteWorks and will kind of speed up the process of getting our bills out, plus they'll be more accurate. Bills like also, I hate that he's not here because he's done a lot of the work himself, but what parts that I have been involved with this, this is very much needed, and it will very well pay for itself. The upgrade it's almost to a critical point. And I think Rick can attest to some of that too, because he's the one that has been, kind of got it started asking me questions, and when I started looking into it, this is what we have found. So if you so choose, and I hope you do, the upgrade is very much needed.
Under the old system, it's easy to miss maybe some billing to somebody. Is that where the loss is coming in at?
Well, it's not so much as missing someone as you're having to go into a program and then and put the numbers in. Then you've got to transfer this. It goes on a notebook. Then you transfer it to another billing process. There's about 5 steps to a bill. And after a day of looking at these things all day long, I can see where you can have a problem and just miss the numbers. You know, we have found a couple of things. Rick again can attest to this, and we went back and looked, and it was just a simple keystroke mistake. But at the end of the day, it ends up costing more time fixing it, plus it costs money that we're missing. This is something that's very much wanted to do if you so choose to do it.
Now, will that come out of y'all your budget, or will that be a budget amendment? Okay.
Well, it'll come out of my budget when Rick puts it in my.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
Number 8, the KPS invoice for repairs. Mayor, this $18,000 now, that's a separate invoice from the one prior.
Yes, this is invoice number 2, top left. This is the second invoice.
Yes.
And this invoice that we received, and it's been signed off by Heritage Center and Mr. Olenese, is for $18,377.90 total. And if it's split like the other one, 50-50, the city's part participating is $9,188.95. And you should have with that, Shonda prepared a spreadsheet that'll sort of help you see where we are and what's left, because we did have a cap architect fee from KPS. Just to give you an idea, bottom right, about 30,000 still left in the fee, so about another 15,000 on the city side at some point in the future.
And this is all design work, right? Or most of it?
Construction documents, this one.
Yeah. So with that being said, as far as construction, do we know, can they go ahead now and give us a cost on what it's going to be?
No, they're getting the documents ready to go out for bid. They're not gonna know until they get the numbers back. One thing that in Mr. Olenese's efforts in working with the Heritage Center folks, we did get a $6,500 deduct from the architect on the civil component. So that did lower the overall from 66,000 to 59,000 plus. So that was good. But now this is still, I think, 50% on construction documents at this point.
What was that number again, 9,100?
9188.95.
Put that on the screen. And finish this up. We will have a SWDA meeting next Monday night, January the 10th at 5 p.m. January 10th, 5 a.m. February 10th. February 10th, I'm still in. Delegations are none. Mayor?
Yes, one thing I wanted to bring up for discussion. Back at the January 13th council meeting on the bond proceeds, the council set aside $130,000 for bat cages, and I'm not going to argue the point about them being needed. And as you know, we discussed bat cages and back in the fall in our budget meetings, but I'm asking the council to consider one of two things: to reallocate the $130,000 that was set aside for batting cages at this time for 2 fireboats, which would come to about $113,000 for the 2 boats, or look at taking it from surplus sales tax. And I know sometimes this early in the year we don't look to our surplus sales tax, and this is a pretty good hit, but I think everyone can agree this is something that's much needed, and we have talked about it, in some various different meetings. What we're proposing, and Chief is at a meeting in Tuscaloosa tonight, but what we're proposing is 2 boats. One would be staged at Goosemont Colony, one would be staged at County Park. I have had discussion with the County Commission about them participating, and feel confident that they would participate in paying for one or reimbursing for one. Gene and I've had that discussion. He would still assume the responsibility for manning it, training it, and utilizing it. And then there was also some discussion that he was going to have with TVA about a dock or so forth. But it's been a tragic event, and it's affected our employees more than a lot of people know. I know Chief Dow can attest to that. What happened was the greatest number of deaths in any one fire incident in the state in 50 years for a single. And so, I'm not saying we would have saved any lives, but it gives us another tool to attack this. And another thing, the lead time on the boats are about 12 weeks, so this is something that I highly recommend that we see which course of action and take action.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Stewart?
I don't have anything this evening, but we do appreciate all of you attending. I guess, one thing, I agree with the mayor. What happened at County Park was extremely tragic, loss of lives. Possibly one of those boats could have maybe saved someone. So if we were to move on that, I think it would be a very good project to undertake. Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Ashford?
I'd like to bring it up again about the polling place down at the Redcom. We discussed this, goes back a year ago, moving it from the gym on Parks Avenue side to the gym that's in the middle of the building. And I bring this up now. I think the election's 4 weeks from tomorrow. And I think we need to decide whether we're going to or not. And if we decide to, maybe we can put up some signage to the people that utilize the Redcom that they may be misput during that day. But the reason that I asked it to be changed is due to the safety issues with the sidewalk on the existing one. And years gone by, it was at the one in the middle anyway. It'll put people out that use it on that day, but I believe it's something that we need to do. And Yvonne is here tonight. Do you see a problem with it, moving it to that?
No, sir.
Is that something that John might need to be involved in? I'm not sure.
With you, we talked about it last week. We'd reach out to the lady that basically assesses it correctly.
Okay.
We talked with her, and a lot of what that she was going to do, it had to do like automatic door openers and stuff like that. It would be things you'd have to put out for bid, and we won't have time.
Okay.
If we could just agree to use that middle gym.
So we just need to put that on the agenda for next week then? Okay.
Now, Yvonne, as far as the floor cover, will it be the same?
Yes,
Same?
sir, it's the same.
It won't be a problem moving it from that one to the other.
The location is the only thing that has to get published, so I don't know, does the council need to take an action?
It's got the same address.
It's just a public notification that maybe a newspaper can help us with.
And one other thing, went to the Scottsboro Museum event Saturday night, and it was well attended, and it was real good. It's a Scottsboro history that's going to keep going on. We need to help preserve. And I enjoy it. And that's all I have.
Mr. Buddy?
First, I just want to say, we all talk about the great employees we have here in Scottsboro. We talk about it all the time, but I feel like if we're going to keep that employees, we're going to have to make some changes. I know our police department, for the last 2 years that I've set up here, that they've struggled getting applications. I mean, we have other departments, when they have an opening, they'll have 100 applications for that same job, But we're at a point where we almost have to hire anybody who puts an application right now. I mean, and it's only going to get worse. And we've seen the county, they've posted things about trying to change their stuff, because it's getting to them too now.
I know that a lot of people are gonna say, you know, you get a lot of benefits and that should cover what we're not paying them. Well, I think about Mike Ashram when I think about benefits because, of course, Mike's always got a story about everything. And Mike told me a story one time and I actually listened to him. He talked about a man having, you know, a great job and great benefits, and he said, well, the man left it, and they all asked him why. He said, well, benefits don't put food on the table. And that stuck with me. I mean, and so, you know, we're asking a new hire, you know, start carrying a gun, walking up to a car and, you know, don't know what they're fixing to get into, and we're paying them very minimal. I don't know what the fix is. I've come up with some numbers, and I know I talked with a lot of people here about it, and it may not be the correct fix, but the dialogue has to start. We have to do something, and if not, we're going to get in bad shape there. And you know, when we start trying to bring industry into this town, you know, we don't want those bad numbers going up, because that just runs them off. So, you know, I want to throw it out there, and hopefully we can start this discussion about how we can fix this. You know, it's the starting pay for a police officer right now is too low. That's all I have. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. All I've got is, just like the mayor, you know, mentioned about the boats, a lot of this, you know, when we allocated that money, all this is unforeseen.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
and we definitely want to look at that, you know, because we do have a lot of boats in the area, and without a doubt, I do think that we need to take a hard look at that and see what we can do and work with the county, and it can be a lot better, and we want it to be. We want our citizens safe. Thank everyone for coming out. Remember to keep our town in prayer. You know, we're still dealing with, you know, I know a lot of guys working, they're still working. And that's something we need to continue to remember. And that's all I know. I appreciate everyone coming out. We're standing.